This episode is brought to you by Pokes Spices. Discover flavorful goodness. Learn more at poksspices.org.
This week on Meat and Three, we celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month with an episode about memory.
I've always read and sort of approached cookbooks for more than the recipes. To me, they are full of narrative content and narrative value.
So Malamaaina basically means to take care of the land. For us as Hawaiians, it's taking care of our older sibling.
But I do remember definitely feeling self-conscious about it, being the only one who kind of wasn't eating a sandwich and didn't have a bag of goldfish or Lunchables.
Listen to Meat and Three wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Peter Reinhardt, and we're on Pizza Talk, presented by Pizza Quest, where we've been meeting with some of the great pizza luminaries and artisans of all styles. And today we are really excited to have one of our old favorite friends, Tony Gemignani. Welcome, Tony. Tony's, you're in San Francisco right now, in North Beach, right in the heart of your pizza empire. And we'll hear all about that in a second and how it's expanded. But when we last visited with you, Tony, and filmed, it was almost 10 years ago, about 10 years ago, and the empire was just sort of getting off the ground. Can you fill us in a little bit? What's happened over these last 10 years? Because you're all over the place now.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, it's 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now. It's expanded a lot. When you came into Tony's that time, I was a lot younger then. I think I had a little more hair. When it came to it, we were offering about 5 different styles of pizza. That expanded. So right now, when you look at Tony's in its entirety, you have Tony's and Slice Outs that's connected. We now have a coal oven. We have a rotating Rotaflex oven in the slice shop, and then it's actually connected in the back, which where we have a wood-fired now Stefano Ferrara oven in the front. We have a double-stack Marsal's, 2 double-stack electric ovens. So we have 7 ovens going out of Tony's. And if you want New Haven, style pizza out of the coal oven, if you want Roman-style pizza out of the electric oven, if you want, Grandma, Detroit, St. Louis. So It's expanded from those 5 styles that maybe you had, 5 to 6. Now we're actually on to about 13 styles of pizza at that restaurant. So depending on the style that you like, is the right flour, the tomato, the oven.
That was what was so notable about the place when we first visited, when you're only doing 5, and now you're up to all these other ones, is that you not only are doing the styles, but you're customizing with flour, the right oven, the right ingredients that match that particular style. I remember, in writing about you a lot, I refer to you as the Mozart of pizza because you can work in so many different mediums at the highest level. A lot of people are specialists in one particular style, but you really have achieved, the top of the pyramid in all these different styles, and it's prodigious. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I think looking at it now, there's a lot of these guys are accepting more styles. Before it was like, okay, I love Chicago, I only love Chicago. I'm in New York, I only do New York. But now you see guys going into it, New Yorkers saying, I like Roman now, or what's this Detroit thing that I heard about? So yeah. I feel like the operator has changed quite a bit. They're not so just hardcore this particular style. I love pizza. If it's done right, I love it. If it's done wrong, I still kind of like it. But for me in general, I love. I've had great Chicago style pizza. I've gone to Detroit. I've had Emo's at its finest. I've even competed and judged a lot of the St. Louis championships they have. So for me, a lot of guys say, "No, I'll never go there." But man, if pizza is done right in that right oven, the right ingredients, or you have that right char around the edge, and you chisel it out, and you made the dough correctly, man, it is super, super good. So for me, I celebrate every style of pizza. It's just, I always have and always will.
Which is pretty cool. But we got into it in a little bit of a discussion the other day with Scott Wiener, who's kind of, again, a lover of all style. He calls himself a serious pizza enthusiast, of which I think many of us fall. And we were kind of discussing how do you even define pizza in that sense? Because you do have the purists like Mark Iacono, who says, I'm a pizza purist, it has to be these things. And then there's others like me who just say pizza is just dough with something on it. How would you kind of frame the discussion?
Well, I'm a pretty traditional guy. So when it goes down certain routes, there's a traditional side of it. If I look at it like, let's say, Detroit style, or if I look at a New York slice type of pizza, and if you were to say, hey, what would you define a New York slice pizza? I'd say, grande cheese, Stanislaus tomatoes. I would say all trumps, 18-inch cut into 6. I mean, I would go down that route kind of.
Right.
But if you're looking at it as how do you tweak it a little, or how do I make it a little better, or if I'm having Old Forge, would I make an Old Forge, let's say, with starter in it? I wouldn't, because Old Forge should be dense, same day dough, ready sponge, starter in it. It should have a ton of cheese. So I was talking to a guy the other day, and he says, hey, what do you think of this Detroit? He sent it to me, and he said, look, great. It looks like, there's some structure to it, but it doesn't need to be Roman. Well, what do you mean? Everyone on the internet is trying to get these giant holes. I said, yeah, but that's everybody on the internet. If I went to Buddy's right now and I went there, I'm not going to be cutting in and be all like, oh, geez, look at this. It doesn't have any structure in it. I mean, like, so when it comes to me, I'm a bit of a traditionalist. I think it should go down the path of what it was or where it's at. But if I'm doing California style and I'm trying to Edla do it, and I'm grabbing whatever I can out of the fridge and grabbing my barbecue sauce and my chicken and say, okay, maybe cilantro on it. California style has always been innovated, experimental, multi-grains. Being in California, what's in the farmer's market, I'm going to grab it and make this awesome kale and almond pizza. When it comes to it, I think California can be that style that's innovated. And then, Neapolitan should be 900 degrees, charred, chewy, wet.
In other words, you're saying like the styles can vary, but within that style, there is a tradition and maybe a rubric that is important to follow.
Yes, so I'm a little bit of both, honestly. I am a traditionalist, and if I do have a margarita and I go in and this guy's just hardcore margarita, whatever, he's a VPN or APN or whatever, and I eat his pizza, and the guy has a California maybe tomato on it that is better and maybe sweeter, I may say, it's awesome, but I don't really taste that taste that I want to taste. It's a good example is having a New Yorker try a pastrami on rye. I always say, okay, a pastrami and rye I had it. What cheese should be on a pastrami and rye? What cheese would you say?
Me, personally, Swiss cheese.
Swiss, okay. I had a pastrami and rye with Monterey Jack. I ate it. And I'm like, okay, what do you think of that? It's great. I love Monterey Jack, but it's not really the flavor profile that I want.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? It's delicious. No, I kind of want to have Swiss. Well, why? Because that's how it should be.
That's my association with that.
Yeah. So there's certain associations that if you've gone to Detroit, I didn't just Google it. And if I went to St. Louis or I went to Naples and I went to Don Michele and I ate it, or Starita, and this is what it feels like. There's a flavor profile that if I labeled it this, it should taste like that. And sometimes people say, oh, well, this is a better ingredient. It's just better. I say, yeah, but it's not really the right ingredient for the flavor profile I want to taste.
Right.
And the analogies of kind of comparing it to that pastrami and rye is something I kind of tend to do, especially in New York. We'll say, Monterey Jack, are you nuts?
Right.
Say, well, I just want to give that analogy because, it's in that comparison. So, yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. And it's sort of one of those endless debates and arguments because some people will say, hey, if you like it, it's okay to break the rules. And other people are going, yeah, but first you got to master the rules.
Sure. Yeah, I kind of see that as like, yeah, I'm like that. And I do a little twist on like when you look at my Chicago style, my Chicago style pizza is really great. I did a lot of research on it. And
when you say Chicago style, Tony, do you mean the Chicago deep dish style or the Chicago thin crust style?
If I do my Chicago deep dish style, and if you look at my recipe and when I teach, I use now a French style butter. So a higher fat butter. I'm not just grabbing just a standard butter. So do I have a higher butter fat in my dough? Do I blend lard, which is kind of an old technique, and I'm using Sarasota and I have a little bit of cornmeal in it? In that dough recipe, would you say the fat is higher and better? Yeah. When I make my pizza, my Chicago dish, and it's even in my book, I'll put my ingredients, lay my mozzarella around, I'll put my sausage and ingredients on, and then I'll go to bake it. So everyone will say, well, why aren't you baking it with the sauce on it? And I said, well, because I like to bake my pie, take it out, very much like a Detroit-style pizza, cut it, and then have my sauce and ladle it on that's just warmed up. Why do I do that? That's not really Chicago style. That's not how you should do it. Yeah. Well, is your pizza stronger? Does it come out like a piece of cake and it just sits there? Not like a lasagna that overcooked and it just like kind of goes flat on your plate. Is it stronger? Did it cook faster? Is it better? And the guys, I think 100% of the time would say, yeah, it's better. Wow, that sauce kind of pops. It's really vibrant. The moisture didn't cook down into my pizza and make it a little weak and wet. So are there times that I add, an extra step or something that on a line, which guys hate in my restaurant, because you'll get a guy that says, okay, I work at Chicago style. Okay, well, it's a little different here. We're going to make our ingredients, then we're going to cut it, then we're going to put our sauce on. Okay, why are you doing that extra step? Because
you're staying within the flavor profile. You're keeping true to the flavor profile, but you're kind of pushing it to try to get maximum flavor.
Faster pizza, stronger pizza, a more vibrant pizza, less wet pizza. So there's a lot of things over time that I've looked at and I've incorporated style. Say, what if I just cook that pie without the ingredients? With the ingredients, without the sauce. And like I do my Detroit, run those racing stripes over that pizza after the bake. Or I do that on my Chicago and see how it comes out. And then you'll do a side-by-side comparison. Be all, wow, it's not changing really much, but did I put the sauce on after the bake rather than before?
But that's really interesting because it shows you how different styles can have an impact and influence other styles. For instance, this whole idea of using fresh sauce and not baking the sauce on the pizza initially is getting a lot of traction now. It seems to have really begun to affect the way, and I think it's been a breakthrough for a lot of people who never had pizza before with fresh sauce on top.
Yeah, like the par bake discussion. I had a guy from Canada call me yesterday, and Lloyd Pan said, hey, this person wants to open up a Detroit style. Will you talk to him? So I get on the phone with him. He's a cool guy. He says, I make pizzas at home. I'm loving it now. I'm not working much, and I'm making all these pizzas. I'm going to open up a Detroit pizza in Canada. I said, okay. He goes, so how would you do it? I said, well, you do par bake or not? And he said, well, par bake, I don't know. And people have their thing in their head that par bake is cafeteria style pizza. I'll never par bake a pizza. So I said, look, I went and trained in Italy. I went to the Scuola Italiana Pizzaioli. We started doing pan pizzas. And pan pizzas, even in competition in Italy, they're par baked. It's 90% of every pizza, competitive or how you're trained, is par baked.
Interesting.
So you par bake a pizza. Let's just say you're doing a Sicilian. I'm pushing it out. I let it rise. I par bake it, let it sit, take it out, then top it and put it back in. You can par bake your pizzas and have a number of them par baked. So I talked to him saying, okay, well, let's say you're busy and you want to do 50 pizzas a night. You're not doing it at your home anymore. You actually have a brick and mortar and you need to make pizzas. You have to be fast. He said, yeah, the way I do it now, I can't see it really being that fast. It's not. And I said, how do you seal a pizza and get it less moisture in it? You make it nice and crunchy. It supports your ingredients. I said, a par bake, for me, when it comes to like a grandma style, a Roman style, a Sicilian style, pizza is much better. It's a stronger pie. It's crispier and they hold well. And how you hold them can go really well. So, a lot of times you look at par bake, you have this kind of thing like guys will even write hashtag never par baked. And if you just have ever done a comparison, it's not a bad thing. In your mind, you think it's a bad thing, but the proper way to actually get taught or to teach somebody how to make a good or the best pan pizza is par baked. So you get a lot of people that are just anti something, and it gets a little annoying because they've never even tried or attempted to even test it to really see what is better.
Yeah, well, you get a notion in your head, about something, and then it becomes a bias against. Yeah. And then it's hard to, even when you do a side by side, you have to almost blindfold them and say, okay, now you tell me which one is real the par bake, And
they're wondering why they're getting gum lines, or it's a little wet, or it's not, they're not getting maybe an oven spring that they want. It's not rising. Like a perfect example is Roman style pizzas. You'll get guys that put their sauce on it really tight to kind of push down that structure out after it's risen. They land it in their oven, and all of a sudden they land in their oven a long Roman pizza, and they're getting great structure. And they're like, well, it's weighing it down. Well, why wouldn't you get good oven spring when you have a bunch of toppings on it? It's kind of, it's halfway here, and then I'll do it, and it's just, God, it's so much better without it. Well, most Roman pizzas are white pies that are beautified with ingredients over the top, like coppa or whatever. And a lot of people just don't understand that you can actually screw up your crumb structure, your oven spring, from adding too many toppings or being too hard or dense with using ingredients. So yeah, there's a lot of trial and error, and people don't realize that R&D is so important. That's something I've been doing freaking my whole life. You're always tweaking, you're always fine-tuning things, and people don't realize that. It's just it's too easy to just Google it now. I always say that, it's just, I love Google, I'm on it all the time, but really to experience something, to be there and looking at Bonci's place and watching them make pizzas in Rome, or really kind of experimenting and going one-on-one and working with it, it's just so valuable to what we do, I think.
Well, earlier in the conversation, you threw out a couple of references that many of us are familiar with, but not everybody. So I want to go back and just, to those who aren't sure what you were talking about when you said Old Forge, which has been around for a long time and now is having, again, kind of a rebirth. Old Forge is very hot right now. Can you explain what Old Forge is for those who don't know?
So I always wanted to make that trek to Old Forge. In the Pizza Bible, the book I wrote, that was one style that didn't get in there, and I mentioned it a little bit. So I called a guy named Tony Ceramelli that at the time I didn't know him very well, and we became great friends. And I said, I'm going to take a trek. I'm going to be with Scott Anthony. I'm doing a book tour. I'm going all around the country, and I need to stop in Old Forge. So he said, okay, you got to go to Lou's, late named Mary Lou that's there, and try hers out, and Gennaro's and some of these guys. So we went there. And
those are the famous ones, and that's kind of like the buddies of Detroit is now. And Old Forge is in Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, it's in Old Forge, Pennsylvania. It's a style that they say is Old Forge would be considered the pizza capital of the world, in this little town that has pizzerias all over the place, and they're all quite different as you go, slightly. So the dough it's called a pizza would be cooked in a tray. So you could order a tray. You can get a tray with sauce on it, or a white tray, or even actually a stuffed square pizza that has onions over the top, and they use onions in their sauce with raw chopped onions that they cook in their sauce. Huh. It's a heavy, dense pizza, which it's supposed to be. They're not supposed to be this big structure to it. It's bready. It goes down the bakery style route pizza that you would see in a bakery that's cooked on a sheet pan. It's soft to the bite. It's not super crunchy. You're not trying to get that grandma crunch that you have in it. Sometimes it's cooked in an oil. Sometimes it's even cooked, sometimes they say in a peanut oil, different oils around. It's a blend of cheeses. So the cheese is way over top. So if you're a hardcore purist Roman guy that goes in there to be, what the heck's this?
Yeah.
I loved it. I was with the guy, and another guy was there, and they didn't get it. Some people don't get it.
Yeah.
Some people just don't understand things. And I said,
like some people will never get the St. Louis style, or if you didn't grow up with it and you have it and it's not what you're used to, it's going to like blow your head apart.
Yeah, they'll never understand Provel cheese. They don't know why the sauce is sweet. When it comes to St. Louis,
right.
Why is it cut into square? Why is it in triangles? So when it comes to this particular style, I loved it. I mean, I got it. I wanted more, and I ate it. I said, this is great. It's the same day dough. Yeah, a lot of guys buy the dough from the same person that makes it, and they sell it. Some guys make their own dough. So I'm having this pizza that's way too much cheese, dense. As a bread guy, if you're a bread guy, you walk in, you say, this is all wrong.
Except that I'm also a cheese guy, so the cheese would get me over. Yeah,
a lot of bread guys that are like, guys that will walk in, they say, this is all wrong. For me, it was delicious. They loved it there. I got it. I understood it. And I said, okay, this is very bakery style pizza. They use ready sponge in it, really high a conditioner to make your dough ready sooner. It was kind of like the things that were taught on how to do things right. They were doing it all wrong. I even wrote a story about it and said, this is delicious. And I had guys next to me that were kind of purists, in a bread kind of way, saying like, this is not.
It's so funny. It's like it's all wrong, and yet it's so right.
Yes, it is. And I got it. I understood it. And I even had Tony Caramelli come to he came to my school, and I said, I want you to demo, this pizza to my course. I had Adam Sachs, who's a bread guy, was in that course and helping me, and he ate. He's all, I'm a bread guy. Everything I look at this is all kind of wrong, but man, it's good. So he got it.
That's the funny part. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we run out of time, because we're gonna continue this conversation with you, in the next segment. But I wanted to go back to one other reference you made that warmed my heart, but a lot of people may not know. And you mentioned Ed Ledoux.
Yeah.
You were talking about California style. And I know Ed. Well, I wrote about Ed in my book also, and really was very important in the California pizza renaissance. Can you mention a few things about Ed?
Yeah, Ed, was one of the first starters of California style pizza. Anything, everything. Kind of went down that chef-driven route. He would do creme fraiche and salmon, and he would experiment. And before Wolfgang Puck became this guy. Yeah. In Wolfgang's kitchen was Ed Ledoux. And actually, there's a story about Ed Ledoux. Ed Ledoux actually started making pizzas in a place called Frankie Johnny Luigi's. Frank D'Ambrosia told me this. He said, yeah, this guy would come and he made pizzas. And, he was an interesting guy. He actually started working for us. I said, oh, really? Before, he went off to work for Wolfgang and all that.
He was up in San Francisco, wasn't he, Tony? He started
yeah. And so he actually worked at a pizzeria, Frankie Johnny Luigi's, which John told me this because John's a kind of a pizza guy, really a head guy out here in the West Coast. So Ed kind of went in and he would make pizzas and bring them out. And he really kind of made Wolfgang a little famous. It was his pizzas that were coming out of that kitchen.
I think that Wolfgang never really gave Ed his proper due because Ed created the pizza at Spago.
Yeah.
And then as a result, I think he ended up being stolen away from Wolfgang and ended up at California Pizza Kitchen, right?
It's very sad. He did. He created several pizzas for California Pizza Kitchen. You look at, Ed and Alice Waters, and if you look at the route she went and what Ed was doing, it was much on the chef-driven, bringing pizza out of the box into a chef-driven kind of level and grabbing different ingredients, farmers market ingredients, and really bringing it to a different level. And so when it came to Ed, I met him a few times over the years. I think he had, was it Coyote Pizza? What was the name of his?
Yeah, Coyote, Coyote Canyon or something like that.
Yeah. And
in LA, near
Laurel. He had a cool concept he was trying to do, and he got sick towards the end of his life, and it happened a little suddenly, I think. And he was a guy that
was
really
working on a book, I think, at the time.
California Pizza, and he's a great man, and he doesn't get a lot of props like he should. Yeah. And I always felt bad for that. And he would even talk to me. And there's some actually videos about him on a painter painting a painting on a canvas, and that painter didn't sign it, and those paintings went off to sell for millions of dollars. And was he the guy that created that art? And did it go off and those guys made millions? It was, and it did.
Yeah.
And he was always kind of saying that I was an artist. I believe he said I was an artist back in the day that made a lot of things that were super creative and people made millions off of it. I just didn't happen to sign my name to that. And it's sad that didn't happen.
Well, but I'd love to talk about all this forever with you because we could just keep going down memory lane on all these things. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, what I'd like to do also is talk a little bit about how you've made the pivot in this age of COVID. And because I know that you've had to pivot with each restaurant in a different way. I want to hear about that. I want to hear about your work at the school where you're training the future pizza, all those. And so I'm going to ask all of you to come back and join us on Pizza Talk, presented by Pizza Quest. We're with Tony Gemignani, the Mozart of Pizza, and we're thrilled to have him. And we're going to continue this conversation when we come back. And join us then.
This episode was brought to you by Poke's Spices. The company's founder, Abna Foley, was born in Ghana, West Africa, to a farmer father who taught her how to blend the West African Holy Trinity of hot peppers, ginger, and onion. She developed Poke's Spices to help American consumers discover the flavorful goodness of West Africa through the Poke's Spices spicy seasonings. Developed without any MSG, sugar, and preservatives, the award-winning Poke's Spices seasonings can be sprinkled here and there to give your meals that extra kick. Learn more at poksspices.org.
Welcome back, Tony. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to take credit for this in the future when you are known by everybody as the Mozart of Pizza. In fact, I want to get a T-shirt made with you in tossing a pizza, but looking like Mozart with a Mozart wig on and stuff like that, because I think that's going to be the next one. But and one of the reasons why I think that you're so important, not only because of your own work and all the awards that you've won as a pizza master, but your work now really has moved into the realm that I kind of refer to as Yodi realm. The Yodas of pizza are the mentors of the next generation, and you're already beginning to spin out some great talent through your own school and for people who work with you, and have moved into that mentor phase of your career. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the school and your vision for the future of pizza.
Yeah, about 15 years ago, when you started to compete in Italy, I mean, I was been competing in Italy for over 20 years, but about 15 years ago, all these schools were around in Italy, and you really never heard of a school in the U.S. There was only one, and the VPN was doing their Neapolitan training. So I was this guy in the circuit from the U.S., and they were trying to branch out into Brazil and all these other countries. So a lot of guys asked me, hey, will you open up this chapter of a school? So I went to Italy, visited 3 schools, and the school that I love was this school called the Scuola Italiana Pizzaioli, and they were in the north, and a lot of instructors like Graziano Bertuzzo were instructors. They have several over Italy. What I liked about it was that they had a book, and it wasn't just about a book of recipes, which schools had. They actually had the science behind the dough and bread and understanding simple sugars, complex sugars, alpha amylase. So I was like, okay, this is a real school. It's not just giving me a bunch of recipes. So I took their courses. I got my master credentials, and I came back to the U.S. And when I came back to the U.S., I said, okay, I want to teach pizza in the pan. I want to teach classic pizza, Roman pizza. And this is what I was taught. But man, I think American style pizzas are going to be on the rise one day. And I think that's going to be as popular as Neapolitan was, because back then Neapolitan was kind of getting popular. So I said, I'm going to go and research Neapolitan myself. Pan's important because I researched that, and I got my credentials there. So here I was, this guy that got certified. Italy wanted me to open a school, and I did. I got certified in 3. So it's Roman style pizza in palla, pizza in teglia, which is in the pan, and then pizza classica. I wasn't this Neapolitan certified guy, and I didn't go to the VPN and learn. I did my own tests on my side. And I said, when I'm going to open up this school, I think New York should be celebrated as Neapolitan. I think Detroit should be there. I think I should add a St. Louis class down the line. So I wanted my school to have everything, not just one style, and this is my flour, and this is the mixer you need to use. If you really went to schools a lot and investigated them, they're just like, it's backed by maybe a flour company, or certain things are a little behind. Yeah. I wanted my students to choose. So here I was, this guy. I went to Naples. I competed in the Neapolitan, the World Pizza Cup. I ended up winning in the Neapolitan as a non-certified pizza maker.
That's kind of mind-blowing in its own right, wasn't it?
It was pretty insane when that happened, but there was reasons for me behind that, because I said, now I'm going to do my school in San Francisco. It's going to be in Little Italy. I'm going to have all these ovens. And you can't say I don't know how to make Neapolitan pizza if I won your cup.
Yeah.
Here are my certifications from
a better way of getting credentials is winning the World Cup.
It was automatic. So I was like, that was kind of like my thing to say, I'm going to do it my way when it comes to Neapolitan. I'm going to share with you, what I learned in Italy and start giving certifications. And we're also going to have New York, Chicago, and all this. So here was this one-of-a-kind school that did everything like the restaurant is.
Yeah.
And I started teaching 12 years ago, even before Tony's opened. I was teaching in Manteca at Cupone, the Cupone Oven Company. I was actually doing courses out of there for a year while Tony's was being built. So actually for about 12 years. And I started certifying some amazing talent. I mean, guys that you hear now, you're like, wow, it's like if you hear of, Via 313, Austin, the Detroit style pizza,
Terrific place.
Some of the guys, the brothers, Jeff Smokovich from Blue Pan came, Ann Kim from Minnesota wanted to learn a Bianco, and she wanted a Pepe's infusion. This is what I wanted to do. And her and I were working on recipes on multi-times, not just like she came to my school once, she actually came back several times. So you have Audrey Sherman that opened up, and you're looking at like Will Grant, and you're looking at all these guys that kind of came from the school. And these were people, men and women that just had it in them. It had that passion. You know as well as I do, I can teach somebody a trade, but it's really up to them to really bring it to a level that is there. And like some doctors become great and others don't. It's very much like a college. You're going to teach somebody something, and it's up to them to do it 10,000 times to be great at it, maybe 100,000 times, or maybe 10 times, and they just have it in them. I always say there's a student like Audrey Sherman. It's Audrey's Pizza Garage. She was a student that almost never touched pizza. And we're teaching people how to open a pizza out. Okay, this is what you do. You take your dough out. It's hydrated. Be careful with it. Dust it. Here, push. This is how you push out. You can do it this way. You could square it up. And this girl came around. I say girl. She was a young girl at the time. And she opened up this pizza like it was opening up a pizza, like it was like something that blew me away. And
she had the touch, huh?
She had it. And some people have it. And I had chefs, Michelin star chefs trying to make a pizza, and they're holding it like it's with gorilla hands, and they don't have a touch. They could saute on a line and bang it out on a Friday night, but they're taking 20 minutes just to stretch a pizza, and they got gorilla hands. So it's interesting to see that in certain operators or pizza makers that come into the school. And I've been lucky enough to really train some of the finest pizza makers now it's just, my dad was a coach. I played soccer. A lot of guys kind of come to me in the industry. They used to say, why do you compete? Who's going to tell you your pizza is bad? You think it's good. I said, there's nothing like being in an area, you're out of your comfort zone. You're not in your pizzeria. You have one shot. You're working on an oven you never cooked at. It's not air conditioned. It's an environment that's terrible. I made my dough in my hotel room 2 nights ago. I brought my pre-ferment from US. I have this one shot. I'm making the best pizza I can make in my life. And you adapt to conditions. You're understanding, wow, this oven's too hot. What do I do? This is a weird area. Should I stage my dough longer, or do I put it back in my cooler, which is a handheld cooler that I rolled into this competition? I had to become better at that moment. And I gave them this pizza in front of them, and they looked at it, and they ate it, they inspected it, and they're trying it, and they're critiquing it. And I'm this guy that I'm better than you, but no, I'm not. I have to respect it and get judged on it. So sometimes as an operator, as an owner, we tend not to get out of our comfort zone. And to get into that, it sometimes makes me a little better. Well, my dad was a coach. I always needed to be faster, run faster, be better, be more aggressive. So there's this competitive mentality. So for me, if I'm coaching somebody and I'm teaching them something, and to see them shine and win or do well or have multi-units, it's really exciting for me. It's just more rewarding to see somebody win than me winning myself, because I'm just seeing Laura Meyer go up there and just kill it. And people that have worked with me like Tiago or Matt Molina, these guys are just amazing pizza makers, amazing people. And sometimes it just took somebody just to kind of guide them a little bit, help them a little bit, show them some technique, and they can run with it and become better than I am. That's what's exciting for me.
And everybody needs coaching, whether they know it or not, or whether they accept it or not. Some people are more coachable than others, which is another challenge. And when you have somebody who's got talent and is coachable, it's like gold, and you just can't wait to see it.
It's so exciting. It's so exciting, and you groom them, and it's something that I got from my dad. My dad knew how to pick them, and a lot of people, if you look at the team, I have a team called the World Pizza Champions, and And I've had guys like Tony Troiano or Scott Anthony, guys that come to me and they say, how do you know how to pick these right guys? Because we have a group of people on the team that are ages from at one time, like 18 years old to almost 70 years old. I mean, but how do you make it all work? It's always a team effort. And in a restaurant, it's a team effort. It's not about one prima donna, unless you're by yourself and you're making your own pizzas and I'm doing 50 a night and that's it. But when it comes to a restaurant, it's the front of the house, back of the house, server, busser, bartender, bar back. When it comes to that and your kitchen, it has to be a team effort. It's very much like baseball. Not one guy is going to win the World Series. It's all about the team. So it's important to understand that and the fundamentals and learning from each other and being able to want to learn and accept to learn. And I would rather not have the best player in the world on our team. I'd rather have people that work together and learn from each other because you become better.
There you go. Especially at that level, it's really a team game for sure. Over the next few weeks, we're going to have a number of your proteges or people that you've coached. Some of the folks you've already mentioned. Also, one of your other proteges, Leo Spizzeri, is going to be on with us, who we love. And I haven't talked to him yet, but I know that right here in Charlotte, where I live, Charlotte, North Carolina, we have Siler Chapman, who's another one, almost like you're like a godson of yours, I feel like, So there's a lot of people out there who have been touched and influenced by you in so many ways and that legacy is, really going to be as much a part of your legacy as the restaurants you've created. So, so that's why I feel like you belong in the pantheon of Yodas. I call it my Yodi panel, so we want to get you back on later to have some little Yodi discussions with some of our other Yodi.
Definitely. Well, Leo has an amazing school. It took him a while to figure out what he was doing. He was a guy that kind of did everything. Frozen pizzas, working for Giordano's. He was in my first course or second course that I ever certified. And now he's a master instructor. He has a school in Chicago, right outside of Chicago.
And he did it without coming up through the restaurant route like you did. He did it more as from the development side.
Yeah, he was. He worked at a lot of different places, and I'm just glad he found his calling and excited. And you think of Siler Chapman, this 18-year-old kid that was trying to toss pizzas on a stage in New York. And he was a kid that I'm like, what is this guy doing at the time? I gave him my videos on how to toss pizzas. And I said, don't come back until you. It was so funny. CNN was there filming us, and he was the first guy on. And Jeannie Most, or whatever that lady is on CNN back in the day, she was there. She grabbed me. So you must have better people than this. And CNN's yelling at me, and I'm like, okay, Siler, here's some videos. Learn how to throw. Get off the stage. Okay, Joe Carlucci's next. Michael Shepard's next.
Right.
George, I mean, there's funny things with him, and I still consider him a kid, and he has.
And yet he's not a kid anymore. He's in his late 30s. He's got kids of his own. And
he's still a kid. Tell him. Tony says he's still a kid.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, now he's got his own mobile wood fire oven that he calls the King of Fire. And he parks it right outside Johnson and Wales once a week and makes pizzas for all the people that work at the school and in the local businesses.
Yeah, and he's actually killing it. In a time right now, the coronavirus is going on. Big restaurants are getting hurt. Slice house concepts are doing well, and these mobile kitchens that, especially internal mobile kitchens, are doing actually better than external, meaning the ones that are like more enclosed. But he's going up to neighborhoods, and he's killing it, and he's doing bigger volume than he ever has. So it's crazy right now on who's doing well, bigger numbers than they did same-day sales years before versus some of the guys that are just not even open. It's insane.
We're hearing that from some people that are doing better and many who are struggling. I'm sure it's a bigger challenge for the large, like your large restaurant, like Pizza Rock in Las Vegas. That's got to be a bigger challenge to get through this period than maybe your slice shop, right? But how are you pivoting in each of these places to keep the doors open and keep the cash flowing?
Yeah, it's a challenge right now. I have anywhere from a 900 square foot concept to 9,000 square foot concept. So the concepts that are doing well or better are the ones that are smaller, primarily to go in delivery. And my larger restaurants, 180 seats, 40 seats at the bar, are actually having some trouble Tony's right now is struggling. We're about 45% down because it's hard to make up. We turn tables 9 to 10 times a day, almost every hour on the hour at Tony's. It's insane. We could service 1,000 people for dine-in. So losing that component of that, per day is actually been a big struggle.
How
some
about
of us
the alcohol and the bar sales too, right?
Yeah, it's just everything, So we are up in delivery to go. That's of course catapulted, but to make up for it, it hasn't been that strong. So I'm all over the place. I'm in stadiums, I'm in casinos, I have licensing. Some are closed, some are open. The bigger box ones could be down 50, 60, 40%. And then you have one that is doing bigger numbers than we did the year before, and we're closing at 9 because now everything's a bedroom community. Everyone eats at the same time. Nobody's hanging out bars and going out. So the pizzeria I started with, called Paisanos, back in the day, Castro Valley, suburb of San Francisco, bedroom community. We had that rush, and everybody's getting killed right now. It's 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock. You're getting pounded. Your phones are ringing off the hook. It's that everybody's a bedroom community now. Nobody's out late. So to handle that much volume right now at one time, if you're not used to it, you don't have 4 phone lines or 3 POSs that people can get on, then everyone's is struggling right now. So most of my concepts can handle it, but are we working on getting better ordering systems, to go packaging, everything like that? Yeah, we are building that side of the company quite a bit. I'm lucky that we already had that. I've talked to a lot of guys that do not have delivery, have never done to go. Those are the ones that are challenging for the pizzeria and operators right now.
And in addition to your own restaurants, I know you're getting deluged with calls from other operators who kind of look to you as the call Mr. Fix-It guy, and asking for advice, and you're again back in the mentoring role, helping your colleagues get through this as well.
I get calls all the time on just how to make a better pizza for delivery for Neapolitan. How do I get in the frozen pizza game right now? If you look at Goldbelly right now nationally and you go to goldbelly.com, you're seeing all these guys from Prince Street Pizza. Now you see Piazza Pizza now just got out in Arizona. Lou Malnati's, Detroit style pizza company with Sean Randazzo. You see all these guys are on this. We were with Foodie Direct originally years ago, and then it went to Goldbelly. So we've been doing frozen pizzas for maybe 7 years out of Tony's. That now has catapulted, like Super Bowl Sunday. It was like, okay, when are you busy with frozen pizzas? Was the week of Super Bowl Sunday. Now every day is like Super Bowl Sunday. So we're actually doing 90 pizzas a day, 5 days a week on just delivery nationwide, frozen next day air. And it's that market.
Tony, do you have like a blast freezer, or
we do have a walk-in freezer, but we don't have a blast freezer like you should. But we do par bake our pies, put them in the freezer, walk-in freezer. They freeze. We freeze them overnight. We put them in a sleeve type bag that we seal, and then we pack them. And we literally are rotating them the order before to get them done, and then we par bake them, and then we do it. I mean, that right there has been a challenge, but that's actually saved Tony's quite a bit. Now we have it for Pizza Rock too, where you can get frozen pizza from Pizza Rock in Las Vegas. Everybody, I heard that company is 1,300 restaurants in line. If you were to try to get in and say, God, I want to do my frozen pizzas. We have a popular place in, Michigan. They'll say, well, there's about 1,300 people in line right now. So I heard that it's big, but that actually helped me a lot. So it's
one
great.
thing that's so amazing about the pizza operators is this is a very resilient group of people. The pizza business, I think, has probably responded as well or maybe better than almost any other sector in the restaurant industry, in the hospitality industry. And I know it's a challenge for everybody, and it's and the unknowns that are out there, and the fact that you're not only having to pivot once, but maybe every week you've got to make another adjustment because of the rules changing, and it's like it's hard to keep up. And I just hand it to everybody who's hanging in there and finding a way to work. And I know that you've been helping many of them. While you're also dealing with your own many. How many locations do you actually have right now as we speak?
We have close to 30 if you count the ballparks, which none of those are open. So if you look at the 49ers or you look at the Warriors and Giants baseball, we have about actually almost 30 concepts. We have some growing into some other stadiums that will happen eventually. We have a lot of things that we're actually on hold now. So a lot of things are just on hold, and we're trying to maintain what we're doing right now. So it's a challenge right now for me, honestly. I wouldn't just come on here and just say, oh yeah, everything's up, we're doing great. Some places are up and a lot of places are super down. And that whenever this does end, or if it does plateau, that we're able to keep it going and we can work with our landlords even closer. No, I mean, will it be stronger to go on delivery for a long time? I believe so. I believe that to go on delivery side of the restaurant equation and the restaurant business will be bigger than ever. And I think that you'll see us trying to build those operations even stronger and more efficient.
Exactly. And, it's a moving landscape. It's hard to predict the future in these kinds of things. But I think one of the things that you just pointed out is that some of the things that we've been forced to do to adapt to this new situation will continue on and maybe be game changers in the future as well. And how it affects the brick and mortar sit down restaurants, to a certain extent, probably remains to be seen.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that.
Well, I think that I'd like to keep this conversation going and invite you to come back and do some more sessions with us, and maybe join some of our other Yodas and get you in conversations with the group as well. So I'm going to look forward to having you back as often as you're willing to come, and you can squeeze us in amidst everything else that you're doing. I totally appreciate that you've given us as much time as you have today. And again, I want to just thank you, Tony Gemignani, the Mozart of Pizza, Tony's Pizza Napolitana in San Francisco is where we filmed a lot of webisodes with you. We went out to the tomato fields with you and filmed that. So those who have not seen the episodes with Tony on Pizza Quest, go to our webisode section and there's lots of nice, we cut them into nice short segments so that you can binge watch them whenever you want. And Tony, as always, thank you. Keep up the great work. And thank you for actually sharing your journey. It's been fun to watch you and kind of chronicle your, it's like, this is like a Shakespearean epic. You as the, from your own youth. I mean, I've known you from when you were just starting in the competitions to, and at Paisanos with your brother, to now being kind of the emperor of the pizza world. So again,
thank you.
so
I'm looking forward to getting on there with John Arena, Joe DiMaggio of Pizza, right? John Arena, Spangler, right? Spangler. Can't wait to get on with those guys. Definitely.
We definitely want to have you on with them. Pizza Quest is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. For our freshest content, subscribe to our newsletter. Enter your email at the bottom of our website, heritageradionetwork.org, and connect with us on Instagram and Twitter at @heritage_radio. You can also find us at facebook.com/Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is a non-profit organization driving conversations to make the world a better, fairer, and more delicious place. And we couldn't do it without support from listeners like you. Want to be a part of the food world's most innovative community? Subscribe to the shows you like, tell your friends, and please join the HRN family by becoming a member. Thanks for listening.